My eyes opened slowly. It was dark, so very dark. I felt cold stone under my back, not a bed, not my bed for sure. A strange feeling washed over me, like waking from a dream I could not remember. I blinked, trying to see, but there was nothing to see, only blackness. My heart began to beat a little faster. Where was I? How did I arrive in such a place? These questions swirled in my mind, big and loud in the quiet. I tried to sit up, my muscles stiff and unwilling. Gradually a very faint light appeared, or maybe my eyes were just getting used to the gloom. Shapes began to form. Tall shapes, walls, giant stone walls reaching up high above me, disappearing into more darkness. The air was still, so still. It felt old, like the air in a place that had been closed for a very long time, 1,000 years, maybe more. The silence was a heavy blanket pressing down on me. It was a silence full of secrets, full of waiting. I could taste dust in my mouth, old dust, the dust of ages. I ran my tongue over my teeth, trying to clear it. There were no sounds, not a whisper, not a creak, just the deep, heavy quiet of the stone around me. It was a silence that felt important, like I should not break it, like I was an intruder in a sacred space, a forgotten place. I wondered if anyone knew I was here. I wondered if I was truly alone in this vast, dark place. A small flash, like a broken piece of a dream, sparked in my mind. A bright light, a falling sensation, then nothing, just this, just the cold stone and the ancient dark. It was not enough to understand. It was just enough to make me more confused. I pushed myself up fully, my hands flat on the cold floor. The stone felt rough beneath my palms. It was real. This was not a dream, this was happening. I was here, inside something made of stone, something huge. The place was a pyramid. I knew it somehow, the way the walls sloped inwards, the feeling of immense weight above me. The stones were massive blocks, fitted together with amazing skill. They were not smooth, but rough, as if shaped by giant hands long ago. The air carried a strange smell. It was earthy, like dry soil after a long hot summer. But there was something else too, a faint sweet smell, like old incense, or dried flowers, or forgotten spices. A perfume of the past. I listened hard. Was that a sound? A tiny drip, drip, drip from somewhere far away, or maybe it was the wind, a thin whisper finding its way through a tiny crack in the stone, or perhaps it was just the sound of my own blood rushing in my ears, loud in the deep quiet. The air was cool, but not freezing. It was a steady coolness, the kind that stays the same day or night, summer or winter. It was the cool breath of the deep earth. The light was strange. It did not seem to come from one place, like a lamp or a window. Instead, the stones themselves seemed to glow with a soft, gentle light. It was a pale, ghostly light, just enough to see the shapes around me, enough to see the shadows dance in the corners. The shadows were long and deep, and they seemed to move even when I stood perfectly still. They made the pyramid feel alive, watching me with unseen eyes. And then I saw them. On the walls, carvings, pictures cut into the stone, hieroglyphs, rows and rows of them, faded figures of gods with animal heads, Anubis with his jackal face, Horus with his falcon eyes, people walking in straight lines carrying offerings, boats sailing on a river of stars. Whole stories were told in these pictures, stories of kings and queens, of gods and monsters, of life and death. Stories from a time so long ago it felt like another world. My mind was a thick fog of confusion. How did I get here? I had no memory of a journey, no memory of a door. One moment I was... Where was I? The memory was gone, and the next moment I was here. Panic tried to bubble up inside me, a cold wave of fear. What if I was trapped? What if no one could find me? But then I looked at the amazing carvings, the giant stones. Awe pushed the panic down. This place was incredible. Curiosity began to bloom in my chest, a small, warm flower in the cold darkness. This pyramid was a mystery, a giant puzzle. It felt important. It felt sacred, like a church or a temple, but much, much older. I had a strong feeling that I needed to understand it. I needed to know why it was here and why I was here. The fear was still there, a small knot in my stomach, but the curiosity was bigger now. It pulled me forward. I reached out and touched the wall. The stone was cool and slightly rough under my fingertips. The carvings were deep, made with great care. I traced the outline of a bird, a snake, a human eye. How long did it take to make all this? How many hands had worked here in the darkness to build this massive tomb, this house of eternity? Who were the people who believed so strongly that they built mountains of stone? Their voices were silent, but their work spoke. A strange feeling came over me. It felt like I was being watched, not by a person. There was no one else here, I was sure of it, but the pyramid itself seemed to be watching me. The ancient stones, the faded pictures, the heavy silence, they all seemed aware of me. It was not a scary feeling. It was more like the feeling of being in the presence of something very old and very wise, something that knew many secrets. I decided to explore. I had to. Staying in one place felt wrong. I took a step, then another, moving slowly, carefully. The floor was not even. Some stones were higher than others. I did not want to fall. Each footstep echoed a little, the sound quickly swallowed by the immense space and the heavy silence. The faint light from the walls guided my way, making the path ahead just visible enough. I felt small, like a child walking through a giant's house. After a few minutes of walking along one wall, I found an opening, a passage. It led away from the main chamber I was in. It was darker in the passage, much darker. The soft glow of the main room did not reach far inside it. A choice stood before me. Should I go into the darkness, or should I stay in the relative light? The urge to know what lay beyond, to uncover more secrets, was very strong. It was stronger than the fear of the unknown darkness. As I peered into the passage, my eyes caught a tiny glint on the floor just at the entrance. I bent down. There, half hidden in the dust, was a small object. It was not made of stone. It felt different. I picked it up carefully. It was an amulet, perhaps, or a piece of beautifully made pottery, smooth and slightly curved. It was surprisingly warm to my touch, as if someone had been holding it just moments ago. It felt important, like it had been left there for a reason. I turned the object over in my fingers. There was a symbol carved into its surface, a simple shape. It looked like a star, or maybe it was meant to be a doorway. My heart beat a little faster. I looked at the hieroglyphs on the wall beside the passage. And there it was, the same symbol, part of a larger picture, a star pointing towards the passage. Was this a clue, a sign? Maybe it was a sign showing the way out.